Hey girl, real quick. I'm so excited about the new habit-based fitness app I just launched, and I want to invite you to come check it out because I know it will finally help you stay consistent and see and feel results. The programming was created with you in mind. Come get a free 7-day trial inside of the Training for Life app at trainingforlifeapp.com. I can't wait to see you in there. Okay, let's get into the show. Hey girl, if you're done with dieting and the constant starting and stopping of your healthy habits because, well, life, and you'd rather find a way to train for life instead, then you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Emily, habit and fitness coach and midlife boy mom. I've gone from frustrated dieter to now consistently and confidently living a healthy lifestyle, following the habit hacking systems that I'm now going to teach you. Think of this as atomic habits for women. I'm now helping other midlife moms like you feel and look good in their favorite leggings through all seasons of life, following my habit-based fitness programming. No more dieting, my friend, just training for life. So are you ready to habit hack your health? Then let's do this. You're listening to episode 280 of Habit Hack Your Health. Hey girl, I am so excited to chat with you today and share this conversation with our guests because y'all, we are overwhelmed in so many ways. Now, one of the big ways this shows up was with our mindset, right? And in our homes. The clutter and just disorganization is overwhelming. And the thought of trying to declutter feels even more overwhelming than the clutter itself because you have no time. And honestly, sometimes it can be an emotional experience to let things go. But I want to explore a little bit more. How did we get to this point as a society, really, where the overwhelm from our busy minds with all of those tabs open, like I talk about all the time, is just now spilling over into our homes? Now, I truly believe it has become a habit for a lot of us to try and fill a void in our life, just speaking from personal experience and with working with hundreds of clients over the years as well. It's much easier to add to cart, if you will, than deal with your emotions head on sometimes. And you get a rush from buying stuff, right? But then you just have so much stuff. It's so easily accessible, and that makes you feel overwhelmed. And then you just keep buying more to fill these voids, and it's a vicious cycle, isn't it? Buying and purchasing things is often emotional and many times comes from a scarcity mindset where we need to feel validated or keep up with whatever else everyone else is showing that they bought on social media, right? You see all these hauls or showing all these gadgets they bought on Amazon, link in my bio, go to my Like It to Know It to grab this outfit. Like we all click on the links, right? According to research, I was researching this a little bit more because I was like, how big is this response to things we see online and causing us to buy things? How much of it is linked emotionally? And according to the research, I found a significant majority, around 95% of purchasing decisions are driven by our emotions, meaning most shopping is influenced by emotional factors rather than purely logical reasoning. So studies show that 86% of consumers' buying choices are shaped by an average of 10 emotional needs, including desires to boost self-worth and influence how others perceive them. So we're adding to cart, we're adding more things into our home. It's feeling cluttered, it's feeling overwhelmed, just like our minds do as well. So how do we start removing the clutter while at the same time removing the scarcity mindset where we never have enough and nothing's ever going to be enough? We keep adding to cart, we keep adding stuff to our lives and overwhelming ourselves even more, where you feel like there is no way you can dig yourself out of it. we have hope, friend. We have hope and habits to help you lose that scarcity mindset with our friend Emily McDermott of the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. So let me tell you a little bit about Emily. She's a wife, a mother of two energetic boys, and a simplicity seeker. She's the host of the top ranked podcast, Moms Overcoming Overwhelm, where she helps moms declutter their homes, heads, and hearts. I love that so much. She does this virtually in person as a decluttering coach, and she works with moms one on one to define what matters, eliminate what doesn't, and automate the rest. I love it. I really love the way that Emily, you'll find in this conversation, brings facts and studies into our conversation from so many experts, including her own experience and expertise for decluttering, and is really going to help you reclaim your time, energy, peace, and so much more with the habits and tips she's going to be sharing with us today. I also love how she brings in that manna mindset, the having all you need is in God and not in the stuff that we're trying to fill up our homes and the voids in our life. And I love that she brought this up in our conversation as well and really puts things into perspective for us for sure. I know you're really going to love this conversation and you'll want to take notes. So get a pen and paper handy, open up your notes app, get ready to chat with Emily as she helps us declutter not only our homes, but our minds and hearts and reclaim what's most important to us. Let's go chat with Emily. Hey gang, welcome back to Habit Hack Your Health. I am so excited for this conversation today with Emily McDermott of the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. I feel like you are speaking in our love language here, Emily. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, Emily, thank you so much for having me. I am a self-proclaimed habits geek. So I am so excited to be talking about decluttering and habits and all the things today.
Same. I could geek out on habits all day long, which we can do that together, Em. So,
Mhm.
well, first question I ask every guest is, what is your favorite habit hack? Like, what is saving your life right now?
Yeah, I think for me, it is deciding once. I love this. I learned that from Kendra Adachi, one of the lazy genius principles, and pretty much just means that you decide once and then you don't have to think about it again. So for
Mm.
me, I do laundry every day. I run the dishwasher every day. I put my workout clothes out the night before so that I will actually work out and put them on in the morning. And those are just three examples, but it's just that I have decided this is what I'm doing. And then you enjoy that wonderful freeing up your brain power and energy and all the things that are the benefits of creating that habit. So for me, anything I can do to reduce decision fatigue and simplify my life, I am trying to do. So that's why I'm always like, what can I decide in this season? You can always change your mind later, but what can I decide once in this season? And then it's like kind of set it and forget it. And then you're able to set yourself up for success.
I love that. And eliminating the decision fatigue. And it's something
Mhm.
that you just automatically do and it becomes a habit and set it and forget. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to overcome overwhelm for
Yeah.
sure. Well, Emily, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what's the
Yeah.
story that has led you to what you're doing today, who you are? Just tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
yourself.
I always joke I didn't go to college for stuff management. I went for international relations, and I'm not doing anything related to that now. But my journey to doing this decluttering work and simplifying work actually came from a season of infertility. So my husband and I got married in 2008. We're about to celebrate our 16th wedding anniversary, which is exciting. And we knew we wanted to have kids, but it just wasn't happening. So when we actually looked into it, we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility. Pretty much like there's nothing physically wrong with you, you just are having trouble having kids. And I've always been what I call like the triple P, the people pleasing procrastinist perfectionist. So I was working full time and it was just like saying yes to all the things and talking about habits. My habits were not very good when it came to my health and my self-care and everything. And I realized, like, okay, well, if we want to be able to have a baby, like something needs to change. And During that time, I learned actually through a habits program. It was Leo Babauta. He's from Zen Habits. And I was in a monthly habit course and or program and found out about this thing called minimalism, which I had never heard of before. And I started learning and reading about it. And I was like, wow, maybe the physical stuff in my home and the excess and the saying yes to everything and the to-dos and all of it, that's contributing to this stress and overwhelm. So I little by little started with my physical things like most people do, and then moved more to that calendar clutter and the mental, emotional clutter. And then we were lucky enough to conceive our oldest via in vitro. And then God said, "You're doing great. I'm going to give you a surprise." And then we had our second without any medical intervention, which was very surprising. And then I had two under two, which was a whole other different kind of season where I was really doubling down on simplifying everything. And I am just so grateful for that experience because that really led me to now coaching women and having the podcast all about decluttering and simplifying and really just making room, right, for what matters most. So that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah, I love that story so much and how it's just kind of come full circle. Now you're able to help other women just based off of your own challenges and struggles you were having. You found something that worked for you, and now you're able to serve and show your heart for service to other women through
Yeah.
this way. I love that so much, Emily. Well, let's talk about minimalism a little bit. You kind of alluded to it as well. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to have like one chair in my house.
Yeah.
It's more so about eliminating the clutter, not just the physical
Mhm.
clutter, but the emotional clutter, the digital clutter,
Yeah.
even, and just freeing up in your space in your head. Or what I like to say is, as women, we have so many tabs open in our head, and I have a lot open on my computer as well. And it's being able to close a lot of those tabs. So let's
Mhm.
talk about that a little bit further. So you have four things that clutter is stealing from us as busy moms. Let's dig into
Mhm.
that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think that people always think about clutter as stealing from us. You might think it's just like, oh, it's just extra stuff, or like you said, like extra tabs open, on my computer and my mind. But it actually has quite the negative effect. And so I always like to think about decluttering as actually like reclaiming our precious resources. And our precious resources are our time and our energy, our focus, our attention, and our peace. And we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit. But the first thing, because I've never met a mom, I don't know about you and the work you do, Emily, but I've never met a mom that's like, I have so much time to like pursue everything in my life, right? Everyone's like, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. So the first thing that we can reclaim as busy moms is our time. Hooray. Because anything that takes up your space takes up your time. I learned that concept from Ali Kazaza way back when I first started on this journey. It's really stuck with me because anything that you have to find, anything you have to maintain, organize, clean around, like it all takes time, right? And there was one statistic that I love. It's from I think it's the National Cleaning Institute that says that in an uncluttered home, there's 40% less housework. So let's say yes and
Yay
amen
for
to
that.
that. Because I don't really like doing cleaning or any kind of housework. Some people like it. I'm not one of them. And anything that means that we have less time on that and then more time on what matters sounds good to me. But also, anytime we're kind of purchasing things not really in an intentional way, we end up having a lot of returns and returns that are filling our trunk or filling our home. That's just that extra time and mental weight. And then a lot of times we don't end up returning things in the window and then we have more stuff. So we also save a lot of time with all of those like Amazon, Target returns. No judgment if your trunk is filled with those right now. So that is our first thing, time.
I love how you said you're reclaiming that as well, because we do have this thought in our head that I don't have time. I don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time to clean, and everything is just piling up. So reclaiming that time is that's precious.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
precious. So what's
Yeah.
next?
Next is our peace.
Mm.
which again, we all want more peace. And there are, of course, things outside of our control that can impact our peace. I have two boys younger than yours, and their favorite thing to do is just rip off their shirts and start wrestling. I don't know. That's kind of the season I'm in right now. So it's like, well, what can I do to feel more peaceful when my kids are wrestling in the basement? But there are studies that show that clutter actually increases our cortisol levels. And I know in the work that you do, Emily, about health, cortisol is like a major factor when it comes to stress and overwhelm. And there was a study where researchers went around with couples in their homes, and the couples that were saying, oh, well, my home is cozy or, you know, organized or peaceful, they had lower cortisol levels than the ones that were saying, oh, my home is a mess or it's unfinished. And the other thing that I like to point out is that the women had the cortisol differences, but the husbands, the men did not. Their cortisol levels pretty much were the same. And this was done in the United States. And still traditionally, women are primarily responsible for the home and home management. So the researchers felt like that might be the reason why. But these women also in the cluttered homes had higher rates of depression, more difficult time transitioning from work to home. So, like if you don't want to go into your own home after work because it's so cluttered, but your home is supposed to be your haven, right? That was kind of part of the issue. And they had more marital dissatisfaction, all of these things. So, it's true. You're not crazy. Your clutter is actually stressing you out. And so, the more that we can do to decrease those cortisol levels and to give us more of a sense of peace, we want to do that. So, yeah, peace is our second one. That's a biggie.
Well, I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, right? My husband is great at helping out around the house, and especially the whole exterior of the house as well. But, at times you've put so much pressure on yourself and you don't feel like you can ask for help. And then things start to pile up. Then it just feels too overwhelming. And then you do nothing. So I can see why that's affecting your cortisol levels because your home feels like a stressful place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, we don't always think about the impact. And this actually kind of leads into the third one, which is our physical health, because it's not just the stress, it impacts our sleep. So if we're sleeping in a cluttered bedroom, it actually increases our risk for sleep disturbances and issues with our health with that. And also, you'll appreciate this one on the health side. If you're in a cluttered kitchen, would you be more likely to eat crackers, cookies, or carrots? What do you think?
Oh, the cookies.
Yes.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
The cookies. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And I always, end up going for the carbs and the sugar if I'm stressed out. So that is definitely, impacting our physical health. And so again, our stress, our anxiety, our sleep, what we eat, clutter has an impact on a lot more than I think that we think it does.
For sure. And what's the next one?
Yeah. So the last one is we had our now I'm forgetting our time, excuse me, our peace, our physical health, and then our energy. And this goes back kind of to what I was talking about at the beginning about decisions. So if we're able to reduce that decision fatigue, because there is a connection between our stuff and the choices we have to make between those things and decision fatigue. So if we're able to reduce our decision fatigue, then we can increase our energy and actually put that energy towards the things that actually matter. For example, if you are figuring out what you're going to wear today, like everyone pretty much does, right? And if you have like 100 shirts and 100 pairs of pants, it's going to be harder for you and take more energy in that decision than someone that has more of like a capsule wardrobe and they can just pick like, two things that real easily and then go on with their day. And supposedly we make 35,000 decisions a day. And I'm like, I always think about that number and I'm like, could that be true? And I'm like, yeah, it probably is. And then as moms, we're making more decisions because we have to make decisions for our families. So whatever we can do to reduce those unnecessary decisions by reducing our stuff, that really helps as well.
I love what you said, just about how we make 35,000 decisions in
Mhm.
a day. I don't think people realize how many like unconscious decisions and habits we do throughout the
Yeah.
day, from as soon as like what we do when we wake up until our head hits the pillow at the end of the day. And what we try to do here is habit hack a lot of these things where we're able to use a system, and then we don't have to think about it anymore. Then you lose that decision fatigue. But if you have all these extra decisions to make because of the extra clutter, it makes it really harder to create that habit, because you're like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even want to start. I don't want to open another tab, like even if it's for decluttering and I know it's good for me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've had a few different guests who have talked about minimalism and
Mhm.
decluttering, but I'm really excited to talk to you about this from a biblical standpoint.
Mhm.
And what does scripture have to say about decluttering and simplifying? I'm super interested to hear what this
Yeah.
what
Well,
this
there.
I've never researched this on my own. I'm sure it's in there.
Well, speaking of habits, one of my habits is I've been doing the daily recap and doing my daily Bible reading. And, I get very motivated by streaks, like not wanting to break the streak. And I think I'm on day, 300 almost of my streak. So I'm very proud of myself. Yay. I'm all caught up with my Bible reading. But the last time around when I went through it, I was looking at it kind of from the perspective of, letting go and making room and what does the Bible have to say about that? And there's two verses that really kind of stuck out to me. The first is pretty well known, John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it to the full or abundantly. And anytime I talk about abundance versus scarcity, people are like, have you seen my home? I have an abundance like of stuff. Like that's why I need your help. And I explain, no, this is more about having that abundant mindset that God is our provider and that we have what we need. And so we don't have to clutch and hold on to our stuff. We're able to open our hands and to have that surrender and to also be grateful for what we have already. So then we can be generous with our excess. So the scarcity mindset is what surrounds us in culture. It's saying you don't have enough, you aren't enough, you need this to be enough. And the abundant mindset is that I am enough. We have our identity in Christ in this case, and I can give from my excess freely because I'm not clutching to that. So that's the first verse that I like to reference about that abundant mindset.
And we are trying to fill a void a lot of times
Mhm.
with stuff. And when we're resting in the Lord, that can kind of help us have more of that peace, like you were talking about, and not have to fill it all up with just stuff, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. And the other Bible verse that I like to reference is in Exodus. It's actually when Moses, I always feel so bad for Moses. He's like trying to get these Israelites to listen and they're just not listening, but he's trying to explain this manna, like, what is this? And okay, you're supposed to gather it. And he tells them, this is in Exodus 16. He said, don't leave any of it till the morning. Like, you take what you need, that's enough and then you don't leave anymore. Well, what did the Israelites do? They hoard it. And so it says that they left some till the morning and it bred worms and stank, which is one of those kind of like gross things. You're like, ew. But the way I interpret it is that we're given what we need by God, who is our provider. He knows how much that we need. We don't need to hoard and clutch onto the excess because if we do, it's not serving us. It's breeding worms and it's stinking and it's causing all of these negative effects that we talked about. So if we're able to just understand that God provides what we need, then we're able to have that manna mindset. So that's kind of the other verse that I like to reference.
Yes, that mana mindset. Okay, I totally rethinking those verses now. It's like decluttering goes minimalism. I love that so much. Well, we obviously want to talk about maybe a couple of quick, like tiny habit hacks our listeners could
Mhm.
take away and take action today when it comes to decluttering. Because I think sometimes we make it bigger in our heads or it feels overwhelming because it's cluttered up so much. You're like, oh, I don't even know where to start. It's going to make a bigger mess and take longer than I want to worry about right now. So, what would be one tiny habit we could start with
Mhm.
in regards to decluttering?
Yeah, well, in the vein of tiny habits or atomic habits or anything that's super small, I never recommend that anyone is decluttering for more than 10 or 15 minutes at a time because as busy moms, if you really think, first of all, oh, I'll wait till I have an entire weekend, like if you had a weekend, you would not be decluttering. I mean, I wouldn't be. And so then we're looking at, okay, not only doing something super small, but we want to make it easy. We want to make it so easy that we can't say no, right? So I always recommend you start in the most unsentimental, unemotional areas possible. I actually recommend your car, which I know isn't in your home, but it's a small contained space. It's mostly trash or things that have to go back into your home, right? Like library books or any of these types of things. And then you get that boost from being able to do it kind of quickly and that it's doable. The other thing I tell people that I do decluttering challenges with in my group, I always say it all counts. So if you go into your fridge and you're decluttering your moldy leftovers, that counts as decluttering. If you are, just going through your mail and you're taking care of it right away and you're recycling the junk mail, that counts. So we need to kind of shift our perspective from like, oh, if I'm not rehauling my entire closet, it doesn't count. It all counts and it's all helping you lighten your load so that you can enjoy these benefits. So just making it super small and focusing on those unemotional things and just celebrating, which I'm sure you talk about too, just celebrating those small wins. Like I spent 10 minutes a day for 5 days on decluttering. I'm going to celebrate that. That's really
Mhm.
important too.
And that will just compound over time. And I'm glad you mentioned like do something like that's not like an emotional declutter for you. Like my
Mhm.
closet sometimes is an emotional declutter because you get attached to certain clothes
Yeah.
sometimes, or decluttering like photo albums or something like that. Or if you have a bunch of stuff you need to organize, it's like, ah, I don't want to get rid of this or I need to keep this. And then it turns into you didn't actually declutter. You just spent some
Mhm.
time, moving things around and shifting things. And like you said, that will just compound over time and really inspire you to maybe do a little more or move into an area that's maybe a little bit more challenging for you to do in order to continue that decluttering habit for sure. And like you said, make it super easy. If you're thinking like, girl, I'm gonna like get my organize my closet in 15 minutes, that's not gonna happen. But maybe you could go in there and be like, I have this one section of just like swimsuits, and I just want to go through that really quick, set a timer, get it done, and then boom, it's done. And then move on to another section like the next day. That will compound big time.
Yeah, I love that, especially the taking the subcategory. So, doing your entire closet, that's completely overwhelming. But if you're picking swimsuits, or even I recommend, you kind of pick a certain amount of space in your closet. Like, this is going to be my spot for tank tops, and I'm just going to make decisions on the tank tops and try to keep it within this amount of space. Then that can really help you because just because we have the space in our homes doesn't mean that we have to fill it. It's just more about being intentional, right, about the space that we have and making sure that we can manage our stuff within our capacity in this season. Because, I could have a home that's 5,000 square feet, but I could also have super young kids and like a limited capacity. And then you don't want to be filling it because that's just more time, right? More time and more stuff and all of the things
Yeah.
that we were talking about.
Oh my gosh. Well, and this is just such an important conversation and a great way to end it too. Wherever you're at, whatever season of life that you're in, give yourself a little grace.
Yeah.
Kids are messy. You might be in a season where your job is like very demanding and you have to pick and choose your battles and find some tiny little habits that you can create for yourself to find some peace. That's not going to take a lot of time or feel overwhelming. I definitely feel like having that abundance mindset is really going to change the way our listeners are thinking about decluttering and what they're putting in their homes and in their heads and hearts and
Mhm.
everything else as well, for sure. So, Emily, this is such a great conversation. Where can everyone connect with you and find out more about you?
Yeah, well, wherever you're listening to this podcast, you can find mine, Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm. And I do have a Facebook group where we do bi-weekly decluttering challenges, and then I give away like free coffee gift cards and stuff. So I would love to have you join us over there.
Super. And we'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes as well. So, Emily, thank you so much for this conversation. I love chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Emily, I so loved listening back to our conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your heart with us, more so than anything, because, I've had other decluttering, minimalistic guests on the show, and everyone brings their own unique perspective, some really tactical habit hacks and tips to declutter your home. But I really feel like we got to the root of why women feel so overwhelmed and what's causing a lot of the clutter that's happening in our heads and how that's spilling over and physically manifesting in our homes as well. And I think that's really important as a starting point. So thank you so much for that. Now let's talk about my three biggest takeaways. Number one, Emily mentioned clutter is stealing from you as a busy mom. You already have so much going on, and to be able to clean takes time. To think about all of the clutter in our heads, it takes away from your energy. It takes away your peace. So I love how she mentioned how decluttering can help you reclaim things like your energy, your time. I mean, she mentioned less clutter means less housework. Hello, reclaim your peace and your time and your energy right there. And she mentioned, just starting super tiny, 10 minutes and declutter. Start with an area like your car, just a very unsentimental area, and celebrate it on the other side. When we create a habit, we really focus on celebrating it, the reward part of it. So start so ridiculously small and unsentimental and just watch what happens, how you're able to reclaim some of these things in your life that clutter is stealing from you. Next, she mentioned how decluttering can reclaim your physical health. And I wanted to spend a moment on that because she mentioned a couple things that I think are really important. Number one, clutter can raise your cortisol levels. Oh my goodness, right? She mentioned how, you're sleeping in a cluttered bedroom. You're in a cluttered kitchen that makes you, go and have cravings. And for me, it's sugary. Some people it's salty. And it can raise your cortisol levels. It feels stressful to live in a chaotic, stressful, cluttered space, right? And she also mentioned that men living in the same space do not have high cortisol levels and feel that way like we do. And it's because we just take on that burden so much, I think, mentally and emotionally, whereas men can just kind of turn on, turn off. They'll just clean up an area, right? This is why women have to do habits differently. We usually take on the responsibility of managing the home. I know our husbands all do a wonderful job in helping us for sure. But y'all, it's just different. We carry that invisible load so much. And this is just even more reasons why women have to do habits differently, especially when it comes to our health. Now, go listen to my private podcast feed, Atomic Habits for Women, where I dig deeper into why our healthy habits aren't sticking for us and why we need to do them differently. You can go listen to it at bit.ly/atomic habits for women. It's linked in the show notes. And lastly, I love how Emily brought up the abundance versus a scarcity mindset, not just with what's in your home, but what's in your heart and in regards to your faith. When you believe in God, when you rest in Him, God provides all that you need. You don't have to keep adding to cart, girl. He's got you. You don't need all the extra stuff to fill whatever void is in your life. There's a certain peace that comes with knowing that, and it has to become a habit to form that relationship with God and to have that manna mindset, like Emily mentioned. And one way you can do that is create a habit of like a daily devotional, or if you like to pray and meditate on having that manna mindset, I think that is a really great way to maybe every time you go to add to cart, you stop for a moment and be like, wow, do I really, really need this? And more than likely, you don't. Okay. So I hope today was so useful for you. I hope it's going to help you declutter your mind, your heart, and your actual home, and just taking it one step at a time. Like, so start so ridiculously small, like Emily mentioned, and create a habit loop to help you take action. You know, it could be after you wash your face at night, you look in the bathroom cabinet and get rid of one expired item. Lean into the reward part of that. It's so less overwhelming and freeing. You can even take it a step further, and next time you go to add to cart, leave the cart for a while. I like to personally do that. Sometimes I'll be really quick to add something to Amazon, and I'll wait a day before I purchase it. In most cases, I won't buy it, right? So take some time. Really think about reevaluating what are some tiny decluttering habits that you can implement today. Create a habit loop around it. Create it so ridiculously small, and stop trying to fill the void in your life with more stuff, and start leaning into reclaiming your time, your peace, your energy, and your own physical health with the habits and tips Emily provided for us today. I know you can do it, my friends. I am so rooting for you, and I will catch you in the next episode. Remember, if you want to connect with Emily, everything is linked in the show notes for you as well. Happy decluttering and habit hacking, girl. I am so proud of you for listening to another episode of Habit Hack Your Health. I don't want you to just feel inspired, but I want you to go take action. To help you do that, go grab a free 7-day trial inside of the Training for Life app. This is habit-based fitness programming that you won't find anywhere else. A full fitness library with workouts programmed around what we need as midlife moms, and habit trainings and accountability community to help you stay consistent no matter what season of life that you're in. Go to trainingforlifeapp.com to start your free 7-day trial, and let's start training for life together. I'm so rooting for you, girl. I'll see you in the next episode.